Well, Netflix really effed up. Netflix is being sued over No Limit film that suggests a freediver murdered his wife. Now this, oh boy howdy, this actually does seem pretty cut and dry actually when you start to get into the the sort of semantics of the situation. It looks like they really messed up. It looks like they don't actually have much of a defense either. So, I guess the real take home here is how and why was this approved? Did you have, a work experience lawyer approving this nonsense? Did you retroactively go and change stuff in the edit bay after it was approved, and thus, the edits led to this happening? I mean, it's just nonsense, and actually really tragic that this diver has sort of been lambasted like this. It's really quite gross and slanderous and defamatory, as you can probably tell when we dive into it. Pun intended. But hit subscribe, give the video a like, and please do share it. But let's take a look. So Netflix was sued on Wednesday. So I covered this last night on the Hcast, which is my sort of weekly, twice weekly podcast, guys, with a panel. You can check out the link to the second channel where that goes, actually, in the description box. Head on over there, hit subscribe. However, this lawsuit was filed Wednesday over No Limit. It's a fictionalized film that suggests a free diver deliberately killed his wife in a diving incident. So that's basically the film. But here's where it goes utterly balls to the wall. And you'll ask yourself as I'm going through this, are you really? Why did you approve this, Netflix? So the French language film is based on the true story of Francisco Pipin Ferreras and his wife Audrey Mester. Now they were a celebrity couple within the world of free diving. So it's an extreme sport where you just dive down, you don't have oxygen, but you get an oxygen tank to rise to the surface. So it's how far you can travel without oxygen, in terms of the depth. But then generally speaking, there's an oxygen tank or some form of supply of oxygen so you can rise to the surface without incident. Now, Mester drowned in real life, his wife, while attempting a dive in the Dominican Republic in 2002 after the device that was supposed to carry her to the surface malfunctioned. Now, here's the film's version. The film tells the story of Pascal Gaultier and Roxanne Aubrey. Okay, Audrey, Aubrey. A fictionalized version of the couple. Gaultier is depicted as abusive and jealous of his wife's success, and in the climactic scene, the film strongly implies that Gaultier sabotaged her compressed air tank, leaving it without enough air to bring her to the surface. So Ferreras filed a defamation lawsuit on Wednesday, alleging that the film portrays him as a murderer. The film also shows Gaultier choking Aubrey during sex, and both characters cheating on each other, leading to a confrontation just before the fatal dive, which is the implication behind him being a murderer, basically. Now, Ferreras had this to say: I don't know how people can do something like that. They turned the story around, they put it the way they wanted, that really hurt me. But here's where they think that they can just get off scot-free, and where you'll just go, what on earth are you doing, Netflix? The film at the start has a disclaimer that says it's a work of fiction. And they also state any resemblance to real people is coincidental. So very standard. But then it also goes on to say that the film's been inspired by real events. And then at the very end of the film, there's a title card with the real life Audrey Mester's photograph and a brief account of her actual death. What on earth are you doing, Netflix? What on earth are you actually doing? How do you possibly think that removes you from any form of culpability here? Oh, it's a work of fiction. Any resemblance to real people, it's just coincidental. But it is inspired by real events. And here's this woman that died. And here's an account of her death. Here's an actual photo of her. I mean, really? Oh my god. Bastards. Anyway, so the writer-director David M. Rosenthal, and this guy's an idiot as well, so he told Variety in an interview that the film was vetted by lawyers before going into production, and he does not think Ferreras has a case. I mean, just a rudimentary glance, it looks like he has a case. There's a very clear, strong implication behind the fact that you're literally saying it's inspired by real events. Oh, and here's a woman that actually died. You're not telling anyone what the real events are, but you're literally saying, here's a woman that died, and it is inspired by two people. Now, he had this to say: this is a fictionalization of stories that were very much on the public eye, from documentaries to many articles and books about this. What I wrote is fiction, with fictional characters. I'm sure he's trying to make a buck here by suing Netflix. None of this looks like he's trying to make a buck. It actually looks like he has a case. And if that was me, I would probably try and sue as well. And I think all of you watching would try and sue as well. Netflix really effed up here. Really, really effed up. Now, Netflix released the film in September, and for a couple of weeks it was the most popular non-English movie on the platform. But this guy has been inundated with, like, abuse, basically. So, you know, as the movie was going on, I started suffering and suffering. Everything was very disturbing. Imagine, without knowing, you see a movie that's about your life and your story with your late wife, and it gets you by surprise. They put Audrey like she was cheating on me. She was an angel. Can you imagine losing your wife and then someone depicts it, you know, that she's some whore? Like, what the fuck? He's also been bombarded with accusatory comments on social media. Now, interestingly, his lawyer, I love this statement from his lawyer is epic. Alexandra Rufus Isaac has also sued Netflix twice before. Previously, on behalf of people who say they were defamed by the platform's fictional shows. Rufus Isaac represented Nona Gapridinashvili, a Georgian chess champion who was referenced in The Queen's Gambit when a character said falsely that she'd never faced male competitors. He also represents a Vanity Fair staffer who claims she was defamed by the show Inventing Anna about the con artist Anna Sorokin. So in a statement, Rufus Isaac said this: that the filmmakers of No Limit had engaged in a clear and despicable libel. Filmmakers cannot make a film about a real-life situation and simply change some names and dress it up as fiction in order to escape liability for defamation. I am astounded that the defendants' lawyers did not strongly advise them against doing so. I can see a jury awarding Pippin a very significant amount of damages. And I think he deserves it. Netflix, you really effed up here.